service business, but the first person we got to sell is ourselves. And our attitude's going to make a difference in what we do. I have a guy I used to work with, and he used to say that he got up every morning when he was getting ready, he looked in the mirror, and the first thing he did was he smiled, he says, "Oh, you handsome devil, don't you ever die on me." I don't do that. But I know,
you're an honest man, right?
But really and truly, you got to set yourself on what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing, in order to be successful at it. The one other thing that goes with that, I'm from Alabama, and we used to always have a saying that was talk was cheap, but good whiskey costs money. You got to, if you're going to walk the talk, you got to do it. So when you tell your customers you're going to do something, do exactly what you tell them you're going to do. I try to tell my customers when I check their shears before I sharpen them and everything, I do a lot of shears that don't really need to be sharpened. They're just too loose. And, and I'm sure y'all find the same thing, that probably about 60% of the shears you get for sharpening, they're just too loose. They may have nicks and everything in it, you need to sharpen it, but at the same time, if they don't need sharpening, I check them, doesn't have any nicks, I tighten them up and give them back to them. I don't charge them anything for it. And I tell them that I want their business, I'm not trying to take their money and run away. And I really keep that attitude. The other thing my wife was asking and kidding me about, I'd sold a pair of shears last week, and then the girl called me and her thinning shears, she couldn't get them to close. So I figured I knew what the problem was, and I said, well, don't worry about it, I'll be there tomorrow. So, I went the opposite direction from where I was going to go, which was about 65, 70 miles, and I'd already been there the previous week, so I didn't need to go. I didn't have anybody else up there I needed to see, but I made a special trip up there to see her, and she asked me, said, well, where'd you come from today? And I told her, and she said, well, God, you didn't have to come. And I said, well, honey, I did, because you spent $400 buying these shears. So, when you spend your money, you want to be able to use them. So, point being is she appreciated that. So, I've got a customer that really appreciated the effort I put into it. And so all I'm telling you is that get your attitude right, and then do everything you tell your customer you'll do, and you don't have to worry about making a living. They'll always take care of you because you're taking care of them.
What was wrong with those shears?
They were too tight. You can't get thinning shears as tight as you do the others. There wasn't, at first I thought maybe there was a little burr on them or something, but I checked them. There really wasn't a burr. She just take them and crank them down. You couldn't hardly even open them and close them. And because I had checked them before I, hadn't done anything with them. So, there wasn't really a problem, but I had to make the effort to go and do that, because if I told her to loosen them up, it would be like I was trying to avoid the issue. And so, it wasn't, that, to me, that's the biggest thing you get in that. If you don't have a burr on there, and you can't have a burr, it'll mess it up. But if you get those things too tight, they're going to immediately bite them there. And that's what it was doing, it was just biting them. So the best thing she did was that she called me, she didn't try to give it to mess it up.
I just put this thing together. I hadn't used it for professional sharpening. I made it for the show here. So I hadn't put all the switches and everything on.
And that's his electric shaver.
This is the new Flathone Jam.
Is that an old-fashioned?
But, it's always you want. Fast as you want. I'm going to put a topper switch or whatever fits this year. I just put it together for the show, just for an idea. And you can take it 3 hands, an emergency shear, or you can sharpen a knife on it, whatever, And if you've got a left-handed shear, just
How about a car gate, Jim? Can we car gate on that?
Huh?
Can we car gate on that bad boy?
Cut a real thick I mean, a real coarse paper on there, sure. But the rest of the story,
The rest of the story.
this, the little flexible pad that you get at Walmart or wherever, take this pad off, the ones with the, and the actual, do the original corrugated, condensing, spray this with a light oil, and put powder like you do for the clipper blades on this, and this thing fixes, it will actually, you can use the powder to sharpen. You don't have to have all these different grades of powder, you don't have to have the paper. Use powder on oil on here to do that.
Spend $1,800 on a stupid machine and you go to get a $100 drill and do the same thing. It's the same.
You gotta build it.
So you've already done the redneck scissor home. This is the redneck cut.
Do you have to have a special drill, Jim?
As long as it runs.
There we go.
Give me that is great.
Yeah, those $100 drills won't work. You have to buy the special $400 drill that I have available for you.
Billy says he don't need to spend another $1,800 for a machine.
Quite simple. I guess a lot of you don't do clipper blades, but I do clipper blades, the shears. And if you do the ceramic cutters and the cutters for the adjustable clippers, they have to be flat ground. I don't have a flat ground plate, and I don't have a diamond plate for the ceramics. So Bob Scissor teaches to use the diamond home. So you just work it back and forth when you're doing either cutter, either the metal cutter for the adjustables or the ceramic. Only trouble is, especially on the ceramic, you got to do a lot of this and toughen the fingers. So I just cut a couple of blocks. And this one is pretty common. I cut a little slot there so that I can just put the blade on there and move around like this. It's not much to it, but it's a lot easier than putting your fingers down there. And but then you also have the ceramics. Now there are different types of ceramic cutters. This is pretty common on the A5s and most of the Andis removable blades. This cutter is what you have. And I just took a saw and cut slots in there, put 2 nails and cut them off. And this will, you do it right.
Don't you hate it when your demonstration
Just
don't
if I
work?
can see, it's better. It fits in there like that. And then you just put it on the plate. Same thing. Just saves your fingers. That's all there is to it. And it's real inexpensive.
Can I see a close-up of it? Just to...
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy Shute. I'm known as the scissor guy. I'm from southern New Jersey, and I sharpen in 4 states. I do shears, clipper blades, and I'll sell you ice cubes if you want them. All right? I got a bag of tricks. I got some stuff I want to show you later on. I was trying to decide what the heck I'm going to show you here today. All right. I make my own oil. All right? And I got some. I'll give them away later on. And I'll give you the recipe. What I do, I put these in the shops in the back next to my cards. Sometimes I put a string on them. And the girls will come back and oil up their shears. I'll pass one around. It's got a really nice, I make them different flavors and scents and what have you. And they're slick as snot. And it really works good.
Is that one of the flavors?
It works great. And then I just, I make up the labels. And like I said, some of the salons, I'll tie it on the string, I'll put it back there next to my card or whatever. And they know, they're very, very happy that Tom Shute, the scissor guy, has given them scissor oil. But then I sell this, okay? I do half-ounce bottles, I get $5. And then girls are like, hey, you got some scissor oil today? I need it. Yeah, here you go, $5. And I got the big one, that's a $10 bill.
Do you want us to tell them you're a gymnast?
I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share that I've been fortunate enough to be successful with. I've also been fortunate to sign up a number of beauty academies and some schools, community colleges. What I do at the schools is I give the students a 50% discount. I only charge $22 normally, so I charge the students $11 for sharpening, with normal guarantees. But for the instructors, I pick it up a notch and I say I give them professional courtesy, and I don't charge the instructors anything for sharpening. My logic for that is the benefit when I go into the school. Those instructors will run around to all the students and ask if anybody needs sharpening, instead of me having to do that, which is almost impossible to do. So they do that for you, just as a benefit for sharpening for nothing. I've also, because the area I'm in is kind of depressed at this particular time, I've resurrected the Tupperware marketing scheme. And I've answered some calls from people who needed sewing shears sharpened at, and I go to their home and I'll sharpen it. And we'll talk about it, and we set up a scheme where she would invite all her neighbors over to the house, and we'd have a sharpening party. I'd be down there somewhere, sharpening away, the women are upstairs, boozing it up, and a grand old time. And I made $300 to $500, so I can't complain. That has worked for me also, only because the salons are fairly slow by me. And if they're not cutting hair, nobody's going to need sharpening. And they got to sharpen, then spend the money and buy a new pair of shears. So it's getting tough up there. So Tupperware works.
So what all do you sharpen at the Tupperware party?
I do sewing shears. They also have these little embroidery shears. I think they're only about an inch blade. And I don't even use that on the side. I just take the honing bar and I just tweak it up a little.
I've been doing this a lot of years. One of the things I've done because of the economy being kind of bad for everybody is that I carry a lot of inserts and I put the finger holes on the shears. The one thing, I put them in every shear we sell. I do a personalized fitting for each customer. And I explain how important that is that they get them to fit their hands right. I go in and see people cutting with their shears clear back here, and it's horrible on them, and they've got problems cutting because they're cutting improperly. It's hard to tell them you're doing this all wrong, so you're better off to approach it the other way and put in the inserts and say this is where it really would work better for you. But I take the time to do that on any sale of a shear, but I give that with every sharpening, the first sharpening, because nobody out there has the proper inserts into their shears. I sharpen a lot of shears every day, and when I go into a new place, I give away inserts for every person that gets them sharpened. I have people that get their shears sharpened because they want the inserts. I try not to sell the inserts to them because they'll run up and say, oh, I want what she got, or I want a purple or pink. We carry a large selection of inserts, all different colors and sizes. And they take the time to personally fit those to their finger and their thumb so that they will cut better with them. They tend to have less problems cutting with their shears also that way. And I tend to have less callbacks for this isn't working or doesn't feel right. So it really has paid off a lot to do that. If they're good customers, I will let them change the inserts about 6 or 8 months later. When I go back in for their second or third sharpening, I will let them change the colors out because everybody likes their shears to look nice. And even if they've got the proper inserts in there, they might have been in there since they bought the shear. I mean, it might fit them, but they like the different colors to put in the shear to make it fit and look right. So it's my idea, and it's worked well for me. I picked up a lot of sharpening that way by giving away inserts and doing personalized fitting. I think they appreciate the fact you take the time too, and it makes you more professional than the next guy that just sharpens your shears and hands them back. I think, if you care enough to do that, it makes a big difference. You can make money selling the inserts too, but you spend some time doing that, you'd be better off making it a personal experience for them so that they remember you. I can pick out what shears, just looking down the countertops that I have sharpened for them, and it makes it a little easier also.
So it's if it's a repeat customer, the first person in there gets free ring?
Everybody gets a free.
Everybody does.
Everybody gets a free.
But he doesn't have to replace them every time. If he's going back the second time to sharpen, he's already got the rings in there.
You
so
already
that's
got the rings in there, so you only do it the first time you sharpen for that person. If it's a good customer and they give me 2 shears or 3 shears and they got 4 or 5 more shears, which I've run into, and I will give them the inserts and put them in their shears. I try to avoid that because I'd rather sharpen every shear and know that I sharpened every shear so that I put the inserts in. But it's helped a lot to do that, and the cost is minimal on the inserts. But you get the proper inserts that you can really get the smallest finger size and the largest down to the smallest on the thumb holes. You really can make them fit them just right. But everybody in the shop watches when you do that. They might be doing hair, but they're looking in the mirror watching you do a free insert and they look forward to that. A lot of people, I've gotten callbacks saying, well, this girl just came in and she didn't get any inserts. When you come back, and so it does make a big difference. And nobody else does that, at least anywhere I travel. I travel quite a bit. So in one town I go on, it's 5, soon to be 6 other sharpeners in that town, and nobody's doing that. Except for this guy probably will be.
My name's Gary Johnson. I'm from Mighty Sharp in Greenville, South Carolina. Most of my business is probably groomers, and a lot of that is mail order. So I do a lot of shipping and things. And one of the things, I do some salons. I do dog grooming, shears, clipper blades, and fixed clippers. One of the things that I was concerned with is we got sharp edges, so we make things sharp, whether you're doing a knife or a clipper blade or scissors. And there's always a problem getting it back to the customer as sharp as it was when we took it off the stone. They get dropped, they get jostled, whatever. Even when you clean up a scissor, you got it all polished and nice. By the time you get it back inside and there's smudge marks on it. So I had to come up with a way to do it, to package, whether I'm shipping it or whether I'm going outside, sharpening to inside, putting it in the mail. And there's a company called Ulean.com that has tubing, polyethylene tubing. A box of this stuff, I think the last box I bought was $36, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 250 feet. So it's just a few cents for this 6 mil polyethylene, high density polyethylene tubing. You buy a contraption that looks a lot like this. You put the tubing through it and push it down and it heat seals it. All right? You can put a pair of scissors here and heat seal it. Another one here and heat seal it. Down at the end, if you want, you can put a business card. If you're doing clipper blades, after they're cleaned, oiled, and sharpened, if you don't, let's say you don't want to spend $3 on a box because they gave you 4 blades. This is one place to get it, so I don't have anything to do with
U-line, you can get it from U-line, places like that there.
Can we call this sausage packaging?
I guess, you can, well, I mean, with scissor sausage, all your little,
Yeah, because the way, it looks like a sausage type of thing.
for all your little parts of things.
That would
Lock
be-
it out.
Rather than.
We've got a heat seeker, so we,
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll vote for you.
I've been doing this very long, and I've not come up with any ideas better than you guys have. I've been in the automotive industry for almost 25 years now, and it's a tough business. Everybody's on pressuring everyone to cut their costs. Labor is the highest cost you have, so you're always on your employees to work more efficiently. It's getting to be a tough industry to work in because of all the regulations. And, I'm noticing that sharpeners don't seem to have a problem eating. So it's giving me more confidence to start.
Don't look my direction when you say
He
that.
said, I know the sharpeners don't have problems eating, and I think he was looking back here.
And it seems like in my industry, nobody has any comments to say unless they're bad news. If somebody wants corrective action, why did you make this mistake? And the engineers I work with, they actually call me the bearer of bad news because every time I come to them, it's something bad. My first shears that I sharpened were a pair of left-handed shears that someone else had tried to sharpen and messed them up. They wouldn't do anything but fold hair. So whenever I repaired that pair of shears, the stylist says, "Oh my God, did you fix my shears?" So it's very encouraging to have somebody say something positive about what you've accomplished. And the only idea I have is that's one way I start out my conversation whenever I try to ask for business is, does anybody have a pair of shears that will not function at all? And you have to have confidence in yourself that you can repair those. And what training Bonnie has provided for me and what I've learned from Casper's videos, I have all the confidence in the world in my abilities. So, as Dennis said, you have to sell yourself first to do anything in this business.
Practically known. I haven't even reached the rookie stage yet, but hoping I'll make it there.
What?
I've not made the rookie stage. I'm not on the rookie level yet, so maybe I'll make it up there, but I have pretty good confidence, on every shear I go out sharpening. I guess everybody has gone through a lot of thoughts when they first started. When you start getting shears, and then you have like 2, 3, and then you start inspecting them. Well, I was having a little challenge when I had like 3, 4, 5 shears. So being new, I'm saying I have to sharpen one at a time, get it right. So of course, like you want multiple sharp. So what I've done is to maintain the order of the screws, because when you take them apart, you have screws here, they different sizes, different shapes. So to maintain the order of the screws and keep them with the shears that you're sharpening, what I came across with And this is probably something that you are, as professionals, and as long as you've been doing it, this probably is an old idea. But what I've picked up is to keep all my screws together and avoid mixing them, because then it becomes a puzzle and then you spend a lot of time. I just, out of a simple idea, just when I put one of these steel compartments, and you find them anywhere, they're cheap, but it allows me to sharpen up to 7 shears at a time. And what I do is, I color code the shears. I pretty much find a location where the ink stays, because when you are sharpening, you're handling the shears in every angle, every place, cleaning them with alcohol, and the alcohol removes the ink. So if you start, by the time you finish your shears, you have no more ink, and you still could probably find out what screws belong to that shear. So I pretty much just mark it in an area where when I finish the shears, there is some ink there to identify the shears to the screws that I took out of that shear and I put in the pocket. So when I finish, of course, taking one shear at a time, I take the screws, put them in there, so I go lock them up. And then I'll take the shear, of course, I'll color code it with the code that I have the screws in the pocket to the shear. I got 2 colors here because if you do more than 7 shears, some of you guys aren't that good. I'm not even good enough yet to do 7 at a time. I try to do like 3 because screws have some of them have 2 pieces, some of them have 3, 4, 5 pieces. If you mix them up, you're in trouble. I've done that with 2, and me new sharpener is like, wow. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to do, and hopefully, if it's not an idea that someone have used, or if it's being used already, I'm just bringing it back alive, because it works for me. It keeps me from having to work on 1 or 2 shears at a time. I have worked where I have worked with 5 shears. And using the color code, it allows me to, after finish sharpening, I keep my shears all separated. I color code, then I could identify what screws I have to pick up for that shear because of the color code.
So are you saying that if you get 5 shears in a place, you take them all apart at one time?
That is correct.
You inspect them all at once, you take them all apart? You don't do one set of shears and then another
No,
set of
because
shears?
I found myself, I'm new to this, so you're always trying to, perfect the time. You want to cut the time down. When you're new, if you don't do it right the first time, you ain't going back to that line. So, I like to do that. I like to do it right the first time. That leaves a good mark, and the client is always happy, And, so far, I haven't had a client that really has given me a bad report because, attention and, detail means a lot. And when you make a mistake where you're confused trying to do this, a lot of times the artist is looking and they evaluate your how good you are, your professionalism. So, that's my idea. You could, incorporate some other ideas of how you can do your color coding and sharpen more shears at the same time. And I do that because I'm a part-time, I got a full-time commitment, and I'm trying to establish my business full-time, but I'm only doing it in the morning. So I do it on the shops, and I'm pretty much sticking right now with shear sharpening. It is a broad market out there, and all the ideas actually are awesome, because I have used ideas from the clipper sharpeners, from the dog groomers, and it's just like a Rubik's cube. You try to puzzle it all out.
You can see with Bonnie's necklace, these things sell. These things sell. Walked into a place 2 weeks ago, lady bought $100 worth of this jewelry. She bought a pair of shears and a clipper She spent $700. I was in there 45 minutes. This sells. Stylists can't get it. Necklace, bracelets. I always have something hanging somewhere when I walk in. I have it hanging somewhere. They can't get it. I walk into Walmart, 4 or 5 stylists, each one of them spends at least 20 bucks on this. They'll buy this before they'll get a sharpening. They will.
Wants and needs.
But that's my idea, gadgets. You can walk in cold. Sometimes I go to schools and whatever, they know that I have the gadgets. Oh yeah, you're the guy that's got the bracelet. Or whatever. So, you know, you walk right in and go to sell it.
There it is. I just don't have it on my screen. But, well, I can work from this. We're okay.
So are you more interested in selling the gadgets to make the commission, or just to use it as a vehicle
just to get in.
to get them interested?
Just to get in, even from the students. The students learn, the students go to a new shop. Where did you get this bracelet? Oh, I got it from Jasmine. They'll call me up. Come over to this shop over here. I go Yulee, I go to St. Augustine, I go to outrageous places.
So you sell them at a discount to just try to...
I sell them just with the same thing she sells them at.
Yeah, because I mean, like this one here says $20 in the package. Your price is $10. This little anklet here says $10 in the package. Your price is $5. So you double your money.
Easy, easy.
And Misty goes on. That's part of Misty's job. She is like a little bloodhound, finding bling all over the place. She's hitting it, importing it from everywhere.
It is.
So, and then she's always trying to find a better price on it. But you could probably sell these for more than what we mark it up.
My question for you is, when you go in, if you're the gadget man, you got the clips, the combs, the whatever, and you got a lot of it, how do you present what you have? I mean, are you going to
I go in, I'm a sharpener, I sell shears or whatever. But like I say, I have this. I have this somewhere. I have a pen stuck to my shirt.
I'll let you talk about
hairstylist, whatever. It always catches their attention. I always have conversation.
That's just for them to see and ask you a question.
Sure enough.
Instead of using like the paper bags and stuff like that where they do get weak, especially with scissors and stuff, they'll poke holes in it, we buy the pencil boxes. And you also put your business card on it and you give it to your groomer or hairstylist. And that way they have it there and they put...
Start over. She said, can you use the mic so...
Hello? What the gentleman was talking about earlier, Don, he was saying that he uses paper bags in order to put his blades and stuff in. We use pencil boxes, like the ones you buy from Walmart. They run like 97 cents. And you put your business card on top and you give it to your groomer or your hairstylist. And what we tell them to do is, when we have our blades done, we put them in a little plastic bag, tell them to put their blades that needs to be sharpened back in there, so when then you go in, the blades are already in there and they know what needs to be sharpened instead of hunting for it. Plus it has your business card on it to where they'll just grab that instead of having to go hunt for your name.
Right.
So it's a little bit easier. And then if you wait until after the school time and everybody's got their supplies, you can get them for 50 cents.
Jimmy Taylor from Raleigh, North Carolina, and you know how you give out business cards, you give them pens and everything else, and they always say they can't find your number. But if you go to your printer and print out some printing labels, or get some stickers made at the printer or off your own computer, and ask the owners if you can put the sticker inside one of the cabinet doors, because they'll constantly see that, and it probably will not, they will not take those off because they're inside, they're not out in plain sight, but they'll always know where they are.
I wanted to touch on one thing that you brought up. You said that you put scissors on your front seat. Safety hazard. Plain and simple. Especially if you're dealing with scissors, knives. That's about it, really. Anything that has a sharp edge. And the reason why is because, God forbid, you ever do get into a collision, you don't want to die because of a sharp knife or a sharp scissor that stabs you in the lung hard or something due to an impact. So like when I sharpen knives at a farmer's market, after I'm finished sharpening them, I tell the customer, make sure you put them in your trunk and not your front. You know, it's just the safety. Two things really. One, gosh, it was driving me insane being a sharpener. These little guys, I posted it on Sharpening. I don't know if any of y'all read it or not, but you can't sharpen them, and it just makes me mad. It's a razor. It's a Gillette Mach 3, 4. I think they come out with a 5 now. If you understand the concept of how one of these works when you're shaving, whether or wherever, that first razor, that's pretty much mowing everything down, right? That's the one that's doing all the work. So that's going to be your first razor that's going to go dull. It's going to be the one doing all the work. It's going to go dull first, if not quicker than the other 2 or 3. I've actually taken them apart. This one here has a little metal strip on each side. You can unwrap it and then the blades just pop out. But instead of unwrapping each band, I guess you would say, on the side, just take like a little pair of needle nose pliers, modified or something, ground down, or maybe even a pair of tweezers. Pop out that first little razor and try it. You might have an extended razor blade, you know. Just something to think about. I'm going to try it. Hopefully you won't get cut if you do. The other thing is...
one idea, but that's which is your best that we can vote on.
Honestly, I was just...
Okay, those are okay.
This is my idea. It's hair. If you're not using it for your testing, use it. Promise you. It's going to challenge you. It's going to make you a better sharpener. Promise you. Because all of a sudden you're going to start to see how good you really are. That's it. It's all about that hair push. When you're coming into the hair and it's squirting out, that stylist is not getting a clean, precise, precision line. If they're taking length off the front, like the bangs, or length off the rear, they want a nice, clean, level line. And if your shear is pushing the hair, what will happen? After they do the initial cut, the line will be sloped, and they're going to be mad at you. Especially if they're doing like fine detailed work with dry hair. Has to be sharp. If your shear is not sharp, it's going to push and they're going to be mad. The other thing too is it's a testing medium. It's trust. When someone says, happens to me all the time, check these out for me. Okay, you're handing me a pair of shears. It's like, I really need your money, but I'm going to be honest with you. And so first thing I do is always ask them questions, you know, get them to admit that they need to be sharpened. But when you pull this out and you start cutting hair, you might notice that the rear or the throat of the blade will probably grab the hair, but when you start getting towards the tips of the shears, that's when they start to pull, or I'm sorry, start to push out. And the reason why they start to push out a lot is because the hairstylist is coming down, doing a lot of point cutting, so they're utilizing the tips a lot as opposed to the throat of the shear. So typically the first part of the shear that goes dull is going to be the tips. The other thing is, if it's really dull or they drop them or something, you can tell if it's going to fold the hair between the blades. And then also when you're point cutting, sometimes the points will snag the hair. So it's a great testing medium for your work, you know, and then also it provides, it instills trust into the stylist when you start pulling out something like that. I always carry it in a checkbook. Oops. It's just easier for me because you can put it in your back pocket, case, whatever. However you want to carry it, but that's how I do it. It's just flat, and you got 2 pockets on each side, and it's just really easy to carry.
Remind them to take checks too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's just an additional test better than paper, and I always use that. But I tested the tissue paper. But even though it's just cut that tissue with or dry, sometimes, even though it's perfect on the paper, if you test that hair, sometimes it still will slide a little bit.
Well, a lot of things that were being said earlier, it's just the important thing is make your attitude, have a good time, be happy with the customer. Don't be afraid not to say, well, yeah, you need to have your scissors sharpened every 3 months. Why? No two people drive the same car the same. You have to put brakes on your car sooner than somebody else. So some people are more careless than other people at how they use their scissors. So don't be afraid. After all, you're in the business to make money too. So the more often you can sharpen a scissor, the more potential for you to make more income. But as long as you provide them with a good job and that they can cut the hair without sliding, pulling hair, and they can satisfy their customer to do what is necessary to do a perfect haircut, that's the most important thing you can do for their bottom line. So I would make the customer happy.
A pain in the butt to some of you. Anybody that knows me knows I'm cheap and I'm old school. I'm technologically impaired. One guy brought up using, what was the technological thing he wanted to use?
QuickBooks Online?
QuickBooks. I got slow books here. I believe when I was trained, you guys told me to keep records of what I sharpened and how I sharpened it. So I keep notebooks alphabetically. I tape the business card in for the salon. I write the stylist's name, just her first name, doesn't have to be her last name. I write the scissor that I sharpened, all the little numbers that might be on it, the sizes, and then I write the angle down that I sharpened it at.
What?
Huh? What?
Why the angle?
Actually, when I come back to that salon, I'm going to have this notebook with me, and I'm going to open it up. If I sharpen that pair again, it saves me a couple seconds thinking. I lost my train of thought now. It started out as just a record book, but it's turned into a sales tool. When I bring this notebook in and I open it up to where I'm sharpening, these girls see their name in the book, or they say, is my name in the book? That makes them feel good right there, just knowing that I got their name in the book. The other thing is, it looks professional because you're taking notes about their scissors. It turned out to be a sales tool because I walked into a salon a year and a half ago, very high-end place, which I didn't really quite realize when I first walked in. And I said, does anybody need me sharpening? Two gals came up and said, yeah, here, we got some. And they came up with their scissors, and about 30 seconds later, the owner of the shop comes up to me, and she says, sir, we don't do things like that around here. Well, what do you mean? Well, we don't know you. You've never sharpened here before. I said, oh, okay. She says, usually we set up an appointment with our sharpener. Okay, well, let's set up an appointment. And I kind of was leading her there, and she says, okay, well, let me get my appointment book. And when I did, I forgot, and I hadn't been using this as regularly at that point, but I brought my notebook in, and we set an appointment up, and I said, by the way, these are some of the other salons that I sharpen at in town. And I was able to page through this thing, and, oh, I know Craig, you work for him. If you work for him, you can work for anybody. And, oh, I got through a couple pages of this notebook, and I'm impressed. I've been sharpening there ever since. I had a gal in Hershey, Pennsylvania, called me a couple months ago. What did you sharpen for me last time you were here? I looked it up, told her exactly what it was. It was from one of the swivels, and it had a special name on it yet, too. She was robbed. The police needed a police report with exactly what was stolen. I was able to give her that information. I had another guy in Harrisburg. I walked in, can I sharpen for you today? Sure, but I'm having problems with the one you did last time. Oh, okay, let me see it. The end's not working so good. Okay, let me take it out of my car, I'll check it. Take it outside, I'd look in my notebook. Never sharpened it for him. So it covered my behind also. And I took it back in and I said, I never sharpened this for you. You're right, the tips aren't good, but I never sharpened it for you. I said, I sharpened a Joel Motion with a green finger insert. Oh, no, you did this one. This is the only one I use. Well, why do I have that in my notes? It's a good and I also use this when I do my travels county to county to county to county in my area. The week before I go to a particular county, I will make my phone calls ahead. I don't know what day I'll be there, but I'll be there next week sometime. I can also mention names if I've ever sharpened there only one time. I have this notebook with me. I walk in a door and I say, hey, I sharpened for Susie and Karen last time I was in. Makes me look a lot smarter than I really am. So it's a pain in the butt. It takes up more room than a computer, but I can carry this in it. It just looks good to people. So it's got a little bit more